Jungkook was standing in front of the mirror in his room, running his fingers through his hairs with a brush. He was a vision of male attractiveness, with broad shoulders and a toned physique. His black hair fell perfectly over his forehead, and his dark eyes held a hint of mystery. He was dressed in a white shirt, the top few buttons undone, revealing a glimpse of his chest. He looked every bit the successful businessman he was. Man walked into the room silently, holding a black tie in her hand. She stood in front of him, who was still standing at the mirror, and began to skillfully tie the tie around his collar. Her eyes were trained on the task at hand, but her mind was focused on the man in front of her. She loved the way he looked in a suit, and the sight of his broad shoulders and toned body under his crisp shirt made her stomach flutter. He watched her slender fingers work the tie around his neck, his eyes tracing the soft curves of her face. He felt a sense of comfort and familiarity as she tied his tie, a routine they had made countless times. He loved the way she concentrated on the task, her eyes focused on the tie, her tongue peeking out just slightly as she worked. He couldn't help but admire her beauty and the way her nightgown hung off her body. She looked up at him, her eyes sparkling with warmth and affection. "Wine, bend down now, hubby," she said, a smile playing at the corner of her lips. "You're so tall, I can hardly reach you." He chuckled and obliquely bent down, bringing his face closer to hers. He could feel the heat of her body as she stood close to him, her nightgown gently brushing against his chest. "Jungkook, is this better, love?" he asked, a teasing note in his voice. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him even closer. Her fingers played with the hair at the nape of his neck as she looked up at him with a silvery expression. "Mine, much better," she said, her breath warm against his skin. She leaned closer to his neck, her lips gently brushing against his skin. She planted a soft kiss in the crook of his neck before gently sucking and biting, leaving a love bite in her wake. It was a routine they had established, a physical declaration of her claim over him. He closed his eyes, a small moan escaping his lips as he felt the warmth of her mouth on his skin. He could feel her possessiveness in her touch, and it sent a shiver down his spine. He loved the way she marked him as hers, a constant reminder of their love and bond. She pulled back, a satisfied smile on her lips, as she looked at the love bite she had left on his neck. She placed a gentle kiss on it before stepping back, admiring her handiwork. "Fine, now you are properly marked," she said, her voice filled with pride. He reached up with one hand and gently touched the love bite on his neck, a small smile playing on his lips. "Jungkook, you are such a possessive little thing," he said, his voice filled with affection. "Ryan, of course I have to be," she affirmed, her voice firm and unwavering. "I see how other girls look at you, how they admire your looks and charm, but now they will know that you are mine, that you belong to me and no one else." He chuckled, wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her closer. "Jungkook, and do you think that little mark you left on my neck is enough to deter them?" he teased, his eyes dancing with amusement. She narrowed her eyes at him, a small pout on her lips. "Mine, it's not just the mark, it's the overall package," she retorted. "I make sure you always smell like me, and that every piece of clothing you own smell like me. Plus, I like marking you as mine," she added, her voice softening with a hint of possessiveness. He pecked her lips gently, a smile playing on his face. "Jungkook, and I am yours. Don't worry about that," he reassured her. "No one has the audacity to look at me twice. They all know that I am taken, that I belong to you, just as you belong to me." She giggled, a soft, lilting sound that always made his heart skip a beat. "Mine, I know," she replied, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "But I still love to mark you as mine every chance I get. It's like a possessive ritual, like a declaration of ownership." He smirked, his eyes gleaming with a mix of armor and desire. "Jungkook, you marked me in the morning," he said, "and I love marking you at night. It's like we're completing each other's canvas, claiming each other's bodies as our own. His hands roamed over her body, tracing the curves and lines with a gentle but firm touch, as if he was creating a masterpiece. Every part of you is mine, he murmured, his voice low and possessive, and I make sure to remind you of that every single night. Her cheeks heated up at his command. She hit his arm lightly, feeling a protest, but the pink tinge in her cheeks betrayed her true feelings. Man, shut up, she said, a hint of laughter in her voice. You're so embarrassing sometimes, you know that? He chuckled darkly, his eyes narrowing with a predatory gleam. Jungkook, don't tease me like that, woman, he warned, his voice dropping an octave. If you keep talking like that, I might just take you up on your offer and have you for breakfast right here, right now. She knew he was only half joking, and the thought of his fierce possessiveness overwhelmed her. When you're a beast, she managed to say, her voice wavering as she tried to keep her composure. He stepped closer to her, his body pressed in against her, his eyes fixed on her face. Jungkook, and you are my prey, he whispered, his lips hovering just millimeters from hers. He chuckled, feigning defeat. Jungkook, okay, okay, I'll stop. He said, his hand raised in mock surrender. You mean, but don't think I won't be thinking about tasting you tonight. He added, his voice low and full of promise. She glared at him and grabbed her red lipstick and quickly applied it to her lips, the color standing out starkly against her fair skin. Then she grabbed his shirt by the collar and pulled him closer, tilting his head to the side so that she could mark his shirt collar also with a bold red lipstick stain. He smiled, looking at her with a mixture of amusement and fondness. He looked down at his shirt and saw the bold red lipstick mark on his collar. A small smile played on his lips as he touched it with his fingers. She stepped back, a satisfied smile on her face. She looked at his neck, hickey, then his collar. Man, now you're ready, hubby, she said, admiring the red lipstick stain on his collar. That will definitely let people know you are mine. He chuckled and kissed her forehead in an affectionate gesture. Jungkook, okay, love, take care, he said before stepping out of the room, a small smile playing on his lips. It was just an ordinary day, but the little ritual that shared that affectionate gesture and the possessive marking, they made it special like every day.